you're a songwriter today, living today, it's 2025. If you're a songwriter and you're not using or you're not learning how to use some part of a home studio system, then you are just falling behind everybody else. And there's no reason why you can't learn it. I know there's some learning difficulties. I have some myself. So things you can't do well or some things you do better than others. But if I encourage everybody who comes to me, whether I coach them or produce them, I pretty much make everybody start learning how to be involved in it. I've got some, even if they just learn how to record their vocal just at home, and because I've got clients all around the world, and if they can learn just, if I send them a track, an MP3, and they learn how to put it into some sort of software, and I teach them how to do a microphone, and they learn eventually how to make a decent vocal, well, they're ahead of the game. You're in the system. But you can learn so much more if you're open to it, if you're willing. Obviously, it's an age thing, although I don't think age should be a barrier. I think it's a great time, doesn't matter what age you are, to start learning. And there's so many resources up online for free on YouTube. And of course, there's some other really great courses you could do out there. And I'll recommend some as we talk about this little video. But I go back in time, so I've got 86 on this, but it's probably 84. Home Studio 84. Let me change that. It's wrong. 84. 1984 is when I first started building my own home studio. And it came out of, in part, I'd say necessity, but also part reading what's going on around me. And I was trying to climb the ladder. And for me to go and do a demo back then, and it would cost me like 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours in a studio. The biggest studios would have been $2,000, $3,000 a day. Oh, what dreaming, right? To do a demo. And the smaller studios, the 16-track, 8-track studios, well, they were still in the hundreds. And if I'm going to make a demo, then I've got to hire a drummer and a bass player and a keyboard player and so forth. It just adds up, right? And so I started looking at this and thinking, okay, well, I'm writing lots of songs and I'm trying to get a publishing deal. And every time I have to do a demo, I've got to pay people. So isn't there a better way of doing this? So I looked into it. And at the time, the Tsacam 244 had just come out, called a Porter Studio. And it was a 4-track little ensemble. I found one on reverb.com this morning for $600. Amazing, they're still selling. I think I paid $3,000 for it, I'm pretty sure. I know I borrowed $5,000 from my father to buy this recorder, this 4-track recorder. And then also was another couple of thousand or maybe more to buy this Yamaha CX5, which was a step time sequencer. And it was kind of sounded a bit like a DX7. So in there I had a bass and some okay drums and some bass synthesizers and stuff, and I could create a track. And I had to get a drum machine at some point. I had every Roland drum machine you can imagine. I had the 303, the 50, what's that? 707. I think they were called 808, the 909. I had them all at different times. And now you can actually buy all those samples, and actually I have them all in Logic and I use them now instead of having to pay all that money for all those things. How many thousands of dollars did me and my friends spend on, they're all step time sequences too. There was you couldn't actually play real time emotional MIDI back then. MIDI ended up becoming 0 to 127, so 128 points of depth of sound, different things. Back then it was just loud and soft. But that's what I did. And what's amazing was I started getting work. Now, I think it's still true today. If you could become pretty good at recording home studio work, you'll get work from other people who can't do it. Other people who honestly don't want to do it through laziness or aren't at that stage yet, or it's too big a hurdle. For some people it is. And I understand that. That's why when I'm coaching different people, I say, at least learn one thing. Can you record a vocal? Let's try that. And if you could do 2, okay, let's record acoustic guitar and vocal. We take a progression. We all start somewhere. But that's happened to me. So I think I got to 1984 I started, so 1985, at the end of 1985, I was getting pretty good at this, and I started doing ads, little TV show ads, and producing little demos for bands and stuff. And I applied to go to a college called the School of Creative Arts, and it was run by a man by Nigel Compton. And so in the conversation about wanting to go the following year, he asked me what I did for a living, and I told him, and he said, "Really? You have a little home studio?" And I said, "Yes." So he hired me on the spot, and I produced the students for that year, all their end-of-year demos, for their end-of-year assessments. And it's quite interesting at that time. So it just flowed and flowed and flowed. So, okay, we're moving forward, running forward. Things changed for me. I get a record deal. I move to America, and all of a sudden I'm in the bigger leagues again, and I don't have a home studio. I don't think I need one because I'm getting to work with people like Bill Schnee and Al Schmidt, and big studios on some really big records in the gospel market. And these records are selling for millions, and I'm just going in as a songwriter and a guitar player, and I'm not having to do any engineering work at all, any production. And then I got interested in how do I get into film and television? And I discovered again, oh, well, there's a little niche here. There's a little window of opportunity. If I could have a little home studio and I could produce songs and music, maybe I could get in that way. And as happens, chance, luck, or God provided a miracle for me. M Audio, it was actually MIDI Man then, was starting off. It became M Audio, and then Avid bought them. And they were looking for people to test some of their equipment. So I started testing it. And I got, here it is here. I got Reason 1.0. If you know the software Propellerhead, Reason, and Ableton Live 1.0. And they gave me these software packages, and I got a little inexpensive M Audio interface and, a microphone. And I probably had this one. This has been around for a while. This has got some dents in it. This is quite an old SM58 Shure, and had some headphones, and I started recording, and I'm in about 6 or 8 months through many trials and many ups and downs. And I'd record something, and like we do, I'd make a CD back then before we had the MP3 situation. I'd burn a CD. I'd go in the car and listen to it and go, "Oh my God, that sounds awful." And I'd go back and I'd say things, "I'm terrible at this. I'll never be good at this. I'm never mixing another song again." And, it goes on. But about 6 or 8 months down the track, I get a song on a TV show. The first one was an E channel. It was just an instrumental thing. And then another one, another one, another one. And soon I'm producing all these songs. I'm going to play you something I found just yesterday. Okay, this song I wrote and produced just using Ableton and a Reason 1.0. And because of Logic recently, this latest update's great. So I've got this old 2-track mix up here, which I've muted right now, and I could create stems from it and divide it up into vocals, drums, bass, guitars, keyboards, which is just a piano, and some strings. I had no reverb on the audio recorded. I didn't have any. I just had delays in Ableton back then. So I had to learn how to create a reverb, which was a great lesson. So I complain, I don't have a reverb. Well, I learned how to make one. And it's amazing actually how this doesn't sound too bad. Here it is.
There's a moment when the leaves turn to brown, and one by one they fall to the ground. There's a simple reason why. It's the season for goodbye.
So you can think like, oh, I only have GarageBand, right? Maybe that's all you have. Well, GarageBand is way more powerful than what I had back then, Reason 1 and Ableton 1. Way more powerful. And so it's not so much, you can make excuses. We all can. I know we all do. Oh, I'm living in the wrong time. I'm too old. Blah, 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 blah. But it's not true. Okay, so just a simple thing. I just this is a cheap microphone. Well, it's not a cheap microphone, but it's just better microphones around now these days that you could get. But if you only have one of these and you have just a small interface, you could get an interface for $100, under $100 with a microphone, and you learn to plug it, get on your guitar and do another track with your vocal, and you just use drum loops. Like these drums, I actually produced, that's another story. I produced a whole series of drum loops with a great drummer by the name of Dave Raven. And I chopped up half a dozen drum loops. I'll just solo it to you and make this thing. bit of phasing in there from the stems. That's all it is. The bass, I owned a very inexpensive Fender Squire bass. You know, I got it secondhand, and I always thought I was not very good, but it is what I had. It's what I had. And then 2 guitars. This is the stems. I would have gone acoustic on the left and electric guitar. From the amp, it was a Strat into an amp, and the amp is the same amp still sitting over there, a Fender a Princeton amp. The piano is from Reason, just a simple, inexpensive, you know, probably very small 16-bit piano sound. Not rocket science. And then the strings also, there's a bit of phasing in here, but the strings are all from Reason. I think the ending is probably more interesting, the end of the song, the strings. Oh, there's B3 as well. I can hear B3. The B3 also is from Reason. So we get to the end. Put the rest of the song in. You don't need much. You don't need much. What's more important is the song. What's more important is you, not the software. If you only had GarageBand or the equivalent of maybe Studio One, the free version, or the free version of anything, you know, 8 tracks. You think about this as only, what did I record? I would have recorded, look, there's drums, that was stereo drums. The bass would have been originally a mono bass. So that's 3 tracks. Vocals would have 2 tracks. So a vocal and a harmony. So that's 5 tracks. And then we have piano. Well, that's a MIDI instrument. So there's no tracks as far as the audio is concerned. There's no tracks, MIDI. The strings are also MIDI. So really 5 audio tracks, and the rest are just. So if you only have an 8-track version of Studio One, free version, or Pro Tools, or Ableton, only a free version, you could do more than I could do in this. And just a matter of learning it. And there's so many videos up on YouTube, like I mentioned. If you want to learn how to do better production or mixing and stuff, go to Produce Like a Pro website. That's a great resource. And on the YouTube channel, I mean, I don't know how many times at lunchtime I've sat here and had a sandwich and watched one of Warren Hewitt's videos and learned something about compression or EQ or reverb, you know, all these different things. There's so many resources now. So there's no excuse, I don't think. But the other thing is just a matter of learning your own limitations. What right now, where are you at? Okay, so I've got one person just came this week. That's when I said, hey, you've got GarageBand on your computer. They go, I do, yeah, well, yes, you do. And so you've got a USB microphone. Okay, now here's your first lesson. Go home and learn how to record just with that one microphone. Sing and work out where the microphone, like if it was here, I'd bring the acoustic guitar up here and I'd sing it. And I just get that down, and maybe I put a loop in the drum in GarageBand or Logic, and I played a loop, put headphones in, and all of a sudden you just made a step forward. And then there's so many plugins in Logic. You just have a bit of reverb, okay. You learn how to do a bit of EQ and compression, and all of a sudden you've got a better demo than you did if you just had to go just playing on your phone. You know, the phone's not bad, but this is a better way of doing it. And then maybe you can learn more, the next step. So anyway, I hope that helps you. And I'll encourage you, no matter where you are in the world, learn how to take the next step up. And you never know what you could accomplish in your little home studio. Don't forget to subscribe. And I look forward to chatting with you again sometime soon. Cheers.